Live. Excellent. Hang on. Now I'm checking the pronunciation of this because it's
Well,
got to come up.
while
Yeah.
MaryAnn is checking
Oh, here.
pronunciations,
Fortinbras.
Oh, bras.
Fortinbras.
Okay.
Bras.
People are like, what the heck are you
What
all
is
talking about?
going on? Yeah.
Hi. We were talking about something that will come up later. And
Yeah.
anyway, cracked ourselves up. Hello.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to Pop Culture Pastors Hour. I am MaryAnn McKibben Dana. I write at the Blue Room on Substack.
And I'm Edward Goode, and I write at Imago Scriptura, and also the PCPH dog is, laying right next door.
Yay.
Here, so,
all right, let's see Scout.
Yeah.
Yay. Oh.
Yeah.
Did Scout have a walk this morning? How cold
She
is
did.
it?
Very cold.
Yeah.
Very cold. Yeah. And I was not dressed right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, well. So it was a fast walk.
It was. Yeah.
Does she get her business done quickly when it's cold out, or is it like, I don't like being out here?
She has to go for a walk. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing. She will not do her business unless she's walking, which is just weird. So,
yes. Got it. Well,
yeah.
Hi. As you all can tell, we're feeling a little loose today. But I suggested today's topic just because of the last week of it all. I think, I don't know, middle of last week, I was like, we need to get back together and just kind of touch base, see what is keeping us, sane and grounded in this time. And I want to just shout out Ed, who said, it's Martin Luther King Day. Should we talk about like letter from Birmingham jail or something? I'm like, I don't have the mental bandwidth. So you're getting a completely frivolous episode today, thanks to me. I think Ed was ready to hit it hard, and I love that letter. It's definitely worth reading if you all have some time today. Read about those the white moderate and word that many of us need to hear from Dr. King today.
And there is a wonderful video on YouTube of King reading.
Oh, wow.
The letter as well.
Nice.
It's about an hour long, but there's something also about hearing it in his own voice.
That's too great. That's great. Well, and as I posted earlier on Substack, I'm really every time I think about that letter, I think about Willie King, who is the woman who worked for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, who was one of two people that helped put together all these scraps of paper that Dr. King wrote on while he was in the jail, and gave us the letter that we have today. So shout out to Willie Pearl Mackey King. No relation to Dr. King, but one of those unsung heroes.
In courtesy of your post, I had not heard of her before. So I introduced her to the congregation I serve today in my message today.
That's great. Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I think you can find videos of her on YouTube telling her story of having to piece together the toilet paper tubes and scraps of paper and the margins of newspapers where Dr. King wrote these comments that became that letter. So pretty amazing stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah. So let's preview what's to come. Our next episode, we know we will be gathering on Friday the 23rd, just a few days from now at 11:30 Eastern Time. And we are, being us, going to do 3 episodes on The Lord of the Rings because it is now being re-released in theaters for people who want to see it on the big screen. So we're not going to go movie by movie. We're going to do different thematic themes for each of these 3 episodes. And we can't tell you what we're going to be doing on Friday yet because we're waiting on, we hope, a special guest who will join one of the future episodes. So we will let people know, watch our channels for information about what we'll be featuring there. But 3 Lord of the Rings. Are you going to see them, or have you seen them in the theaters?
Well, yes, I've seen them in the theaters.
I mean, this last weekend. Yes.
No, I'm going this coming weekend.
Okay.
So we're doing Fellowship Friday, Two Towers Saturday, and then the plan was that we were going to watch Return of the King here at my house on Sunday because the showtime didn't work with people's worship schedules. But now that my Broncos are playing in the AFC Championship game, we'll be delaying that.
Yeah, it's a conflict. Yes,
it is. Yeah.
So good. Well, We are here because life is full of um, difficulty. Life is difficult. What a banal way to put that. But at times like this, I always think about Barbara Brown Taylor, who's a writer, pastor, and she popularized this question that I use in retreats. You might use it as well in different settings, Ed, which is, what is saving your life right now? And so we thought we would do a pop culture episode of what is saving our lives right now. What are things we're reading, watching, listening to? And we're just going to bounce back and forth and share a few of those as time allows. And you all who are watching in real time have access to write messages to us. We would love you to chime in with things that you're consuming that are part of our artistic culture that are helping keep you grounded and maybe hopeful, or perhaps at least just resolved to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So that is what
Mhm.
we're up to today. So, Ed,
Yep.
why don't you start us off? What's
Okay.
saving your life right now?
Well, since I already mentioned one of them, I just mentioned it. It's actually weirdly it's sports, and eh, that is something we haven't talked any kind of sports stuff because I'm not sure how much of a sports fan. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not
So
much.
okay, fair enough. So like so this weekend, my beloved Denver Broncos managed to win, go to the AFC Championship game, one game away from the Super Bowl. And the thing I sent MaryAnn a note after the game because it was just like, where I said, I think I love sports. I hate what sports does to me emotionally. I love sports, I think was my text message.
Yes.
And MaryAnn, I think, assumed that actually from that the, the Broncos had lost.
Yeah.
And it was just this roller coaster. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes along with that without going into the game. The thing I've kind of come to with sports is that I've sports has always been a part of my life. I was never like a jock. You know, I played tennis and I ran track, but I was never tall enough for basketball, not big enough for football, never cared for baseball. So it was never that, but it was something that was really central to my family.
Hmm.
So my parents had season tickets to the University of Colorado football team. And from gosh, as far back as I could remember, we would be going to the games, you know, whenever they had a home game. And so there was all kinds of just bonding things that we did as a family around sports. And some of my favorite memories, especially with my dad, are around sports and moments that we shared. And so I have this weird thing with especially football in that I there's a lot that I really hate about, especially professional football, college football, even more all of a sudden recently. But it's like to use the quote from Brokeback Mountain, why can't I quit you? Um, because I can't. Like
Mm,
I stopped playing fantasy football with my friends. Um, but it's still this thing. And I think it's because it is this very kind of connecting thing that I have, especially with my family, but also with especially some of my friends from college. Um, and so yeah, having that kind of just this thread going on of the Broncos season, which has been really great, um, is just kind of like this little refreshing place.
mm,
And had this just wonderful lengthy text exchange going on with my dad and my sister during the game, and even it led to, I think it was yesterday, we kind of got onto the three of us, this text exchange about like favorite moments that we had with sport things in our family.
mm,
Um, and like I went to two Fiesta Bowls with my dad, and my sister and my dad did things together, and there's so in terms of like saving my it is always an escape.
mm.
Um, I do. I wasn't joking when I kind of said I hate what sports does to me emotionally. I really do. I don't like the fact that this game that I have that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme really could take my emotions on this just whoop
Yeah.
thing. And but yeah, it's this huge part of what has been my 52 years,
Mhm.
and especially connection with my dad and with my sister.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think those are all so wholesome. Like I'm glad you don't quit it, right? Those really give you the connective tissue. There's a drama to watching live sports. I don't generally watch it just because like there's only so much bandwidth and that's a relatively easy thing for me to just say I don't do that. But I really respect the connectedness that you are describing here. In fact, with my own kind of sociologist hat on, I wonder if part of our disconnection from one another is, I mean, lots of people are watching sports now, and in some ways, maybe we're watching even more. But there's all these different teams, all these different leagues. There was this monoculture that I mean, I watched football with my dad, on Sundays. And we kind of all did that. And now we don't all, as a culture, we don't all do anything anymore. And
Mhm,
there is a loss there, right? I mean, I'm so glad that there's women's sports is a huge thing, all those sort of things. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. Um,
mhm.
but I imagine, I mean, do you feel like it's an immersive, like if you're in there watching a game, you're not paying attention to anything else. It's an escape, perhaps? I mean, is that part of the appeal?
Um, it is much more an escape for me, partly because I'm at a place now where, and by the way, Mark, I'm sorry for your Lions. It was a rough
Yeah.
year for you guys. Um, so because now, like, I used to do the thing where basically, like, get home from church, turn on football from, like NFL from 11 o'clock a.m. until, the Sunday night game was done, and then watch Monday night. And really, I don't watch anything now other than my teams.
Mhm.
And even at that, without having cable TV makes it a little more challenging.
Yeah.
Um, but so it's much more of a choice now, and sort of like I am going, doing this intentionally as opposed to just sort of like a brainless let it run in the background.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it is definitely different. And
Yeah.
probably a lot more immersive because it's like I am choosing these next 3 hours to be immersed in this.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
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 Which is
That's a
I
great
think a
question.
good thing to do. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I hear you on the kind of nervous system activation. I mean, when you sent me that text and about your heart rate, during the game, I was thinking about my own dad and my brother, who they watch games while standing behind the couch so they can grip the couch, especially as in the waning minutes of a game, that's their posture of watching,
Mhm.
or pacing. I remember that so well. And
Yeah.
so some of it too is like if I watch it, I'll start to care about it. And you're right. You're rooting for laundry, like, as the comedian says, right? So it's not that high stakes, but you get into it. It
Yeah.
somehow taps into that our psyches. So
Yeah.
that's a good
And
one.
even
That's a good
and
one.
even this yesterday morning. So part of the thing with the Broncos was they won, but then their starting quarterback broke his ankle on the second to last
Right.
play. And I had people come up to me yesterday morning at worship, and they were like, "I am so sorry." Like,
Right.
and I was like, "For what?" Like,
Like this is a thing that happens to you,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, you're quarterback," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, thanks." Like, I
Yes.
appreciate that, but I'm like, you
Yes.
know, yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that is Seinfeld who said, "Yeah, we're rooting for the shirts, we're rooting for the
Hmm.
clothes." Um, and yet it really it does hook us. I mean,
Hmm.
I do get that. So
Yep. Yep.
that's great. Okay, so my
Your
first
turn.
one is I think the first one I want to share is I just recently last week watched a comedy special by Hank Green. Hank Green is a longtime YouTuber with his brother John. They are the Vlog Brothers, and they're both best-selling authors. John is the more humanities guy. He just wrote Everything is Tuberculosis, but he's written a bunch of novels. Hank has also written novels, but he's the science guy. And I also listen to their podcast. Hank Green had cancer 2 years ago, I believe. And he coped by watching comedy specials. It was an escape for him, and he got very interested in the mechanics of comedy. And this is the way he does things is like he indulges all the way. He hired a coach to help him learn to tell some jokes and put together this special. And the name of the special is Pissing Out Cancer. So, and that refers to the fact that I did not know this. So it's educational in addition to being very funny, this hour-long special that he did. When you get chemo and you urinate, you're actually like the cancer is leaving your body through your urine. Who knew? So it's a really, really well done special. Again, Hank Green, Pissing Out Cancer. It was originally filmed for Dropout TV, which is a very niche subscription service that you can get. They do a lot of comedy and a lot of very low budget stuff that's very funny. We've had subscriptions here in our household in the past, but now it is for free on YouTube. So anyone listening to this, if you've got a YouTube access, you'll get a couple of ads here and there, but it is completely free. And what I love about it, it's my favorite kind of comedy. And we've never talked about comedy much. We haven't really delved into that from a pop culture perspective, but I love storytelling comedy. So Mike Birbiglia is one of my favorites because he is not just sitting up there rattling off jokes, but he's weaving a narrative. He's really telling stories about his life. And he's not the only one, but that's very much his thing. And Hank Green, same thing. Very funny, lots of good jokes, very high joke density in this particular special, but it's also really heartfelt, poignant. You learn things about cancer. You also kind of get interesting insight into what is helpful when you're dealing with cancer and what is not helpful, the things that people say. Like when you ask, he talks about somebody asking him, "How are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm okay." But how are you really? And he's like, he doesn't say, I hate that question. In a very funny way, he exposes what is kind of creepy about that question, even though the person means well. They understand, they're like, I acknowledge something's going on with you, and how are you is such a stupid question when you are dealing with cancer. Another little piece he talks about is having to call his mom and tell her. And it's kind of a moment that sort of catches you like, oh, wow, what would it be like to call your mom and tell her that you have cancer? And of course, as a parent myself, I'm like, what would it be like to get that call? So really runs the gamut of emotionality, but is just a very satisfying 1 hour. And I highly recommend. So Pissing Out Cancer by Hank Green.
There's sometimes that like just comedy that is just plain stupid.
Yeah.
Like Naked Gun type of
not that there's
comedy.
anything wrong with that, right?
Nope, not at all. Nope.
Yeah.
But then, what I love is where comedy really has that kind of some depth to it. That and just as you were talking, I was thinking, one of the things that I think we both loved about Ted Lasso was it wove comedy in with depth.
Yeah.
And realness. And while Hank's story is obviously a real story and Ted Lasso is not, well, it is a real story. It's just not, it's fictional. Like that kind of comedy is just, it's a gift.
Yeah. It really is. So highly recommend. So that's my first one. What's your next one?
Well, I'll throw in one other quick thing on that.
Yeah.
It kind of, as you were describing it, reminded me of, oh gosh, and I just blanked on her name. Everything Happens for a Reason and Other Lies I've Lived.
Oh, yeah. Kate Bowler.
Kate Bowler. That book where she talks about her cancer journey is darn funny.
Yes.
Through a lot of points.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly real.
Mhm.
And I loved her response to the how are you? And she said, I'm okay except for 5 minutes a day, I think was what she would say.
Wow. Yeah.
Which was so
That's a good answer. It sort
yeah.
of acknowledges the reality, but doesn't, you know, indulge someone's prurient interest in knowing the gory details. Like, it's the
Mhm.
truth, but it also obscures some. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay, so I'm gonna go with something that I think is probably fairly dear to MaryAnn's heart. So I had read A Wrinkle in Time years and years and years and years and years ago. Didn't remember a whole lot about it. It was one of those that I don't know that it didn't seem to totally connect with me in the way some other books did at the
yep.
time. And so MaryAnn has shared quite a bit about that. And in fact,
Where is it? There. No,
yeah, I
no,
was gonna
no.
say
The tat. I can't. Anyway, it's right here. The tattoo.
yeah,
I can't
there's
contort my body that way.
yeah. So anyway, I saw on Amazon that they had the Kindle of the quintet of all 5 books on like
Mhm.
this one just stupid ridiculous deal. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read it. And so I am about a third of the way through book 3 right now,
Mhm.
and I'm just
Which
like
is which
devout.
one?
Wind in the Door.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
love that one.
and that one was written in, I think it was 1978. So I think when I
Mhm.
looked it up, and there's so much that feels so almost prophetic about it.
Yeah.
Of trying to think of, okay, what was going on in the 1970s, when some of this was written, but even some things about talking about the ravages that we've done to our environment and the
Mhm.
creation. Yes, the environmental movement was going on in the 1970s, but it wasn't anything like it is now.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I've just been just sucked in
Mm.
to it. And even in the most recent book, there's um, with with the wind in the door, there's been like these little pieces of just moments, of this dog that comes into their lives. By the way, for those who joined at the very beginning, we were discussing the pronunciation of their first dog, Fortinbras.
Yes, which I thought was
And
Fortinbras. I have been pronouncing it wrong all these years.
yeah,
So
so or at
I
least the
stand
internet
corrected.
thinks you're
Yeah, the internet
pronouncing
thinks
it
I'm
wrong.
wrong. That's right.
Yeah. So it's kind of like what we were talking about with uh, comedy. Like that is for me when science fiction is at its so very best is when it's doing some kind of uh, reflection of real life and
Yep.
really engaging on that. Um, so yeah, just lovely
Mhm.
and beautiful and challenging and encouraging. And I'm trying to pull up, yeah, there've been these points that have been also just very soul feeding for me. Like, so when this new dog, Ananda, um, shows up, it's a Sanskrit word that means the joy in existence without which the universe will fall apart and collapse.
Mm. Wow,
Like,
love that.
wow.
Mhm.
And so, and yeah, so that has just been incredibly soul feeding for me,
That's great.
and loving reading it and
Mhm.
excited to finish the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're reading Wind in the Door now?
yeah,
That's the one? Okay. So is that the one where Charles Wallace is sick?
no, that
And
was book 2.
okay, that's
Yeah, this
Swiftly
is the
Tilting, is that
one,
Swiftly Tilting Planet?
Swift and Tilting
Okay.
Planet. Yeah, this is
Okay.
the one where the unicorn.
Oh,
Uh,
right, 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 right. Okay.
yep,
Yep.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah. Madeline L'Engle. So in addition to, this commentary on world events that you're kind of checking for us, it's also, I mean, she's bringing in the faith aspect
Yes,
to
she
it
is.
too.
Yeah,
A good Episcopalian, as I recall.
yeah, but not in like
Yeah.
a whacking you over the head way. It's just a very
Yeah.
natural way.
Mhm. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, it's
Love it.
lovely.
Madeline L'Engle. She's the woman.
Mhm.
I love it. Let's see. I'll stick with books as well. So I have been reading. I'm not done yet, but I'm really loving the journey so far. I've been reading Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. Have you read that book?
I have never heard of it.
It was a finalist for, I think, National Book Award or maybe a Pulitzer. But it is a story of Korean immigrants in it's a kind of a multi-generational story about Koreans living in Japan and experiencing racism and the kind of historical things that are happening to them, and it's kind of told through the story of just this very small, simple family and their journey. It's really beautifully written. And I guess I would say it's a kind of saving me in the sense of it's a I don't read a lot of historical fiction, but when I do, I appreciate the fact that there's kind of this uh, there's a universality to it, and also a sense of people have been through hard times before. You know, when I think about books as escapism, there's kind of a little bit of like I can just turn my brain off, you know, and read like a cozy mystery or something like that. But then there are books like this that are escapist in a different way, in the sense of giving you a sense of the sweep of human history and just how things are very different right now, but they're also very similar. And people who are very ordinary, just like I'm very ordinary, prevailed and survived. Or maybe some of them didn't survive. And that's part of this story too. But but there's also a sense of perseverance, I guess, of just
Mm.
simple human perseverance. And so I've really appreciated that one. Um, and I'm still I've got it from the library and I've got 8 days left. And I'm also reading, here's a smuggle, because I'm also rereading Prayer for Owen Meany, which is a meaningful book for both of us. And I hadn't revisited in a very long time. And that book is long, and Pachinko is also pretty long. So I'm not sure I'm going to finish them before they get yanked back from my Libby app on my library app. But I'm hoping to get those done. But yeah, Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. And there's also an
Mm.
Apple TV series
Oh.
that it's based on, which I think is supposed to have been a really good rendering of the story.
Mm. Mm.
So that's my second one.
Lovely.
Yeah,
I'm going to pick up on books, and my sister will be thrilled that I'm going to shout this one out. Beth put me onto a book that is saving her life right now, which
nice.
is a book called Believe. Um, and it is let me get the full title here: The Untold Story Behind Ted Lasso.
What?
Yes, and I think that those hearts came from my sister just now. Um, so yeah, it's a I think it's a New York Times TV writer, and basically it's a whole bunch of just behind the scenes kind of how did Ted Lasso start? Um, what's the
Nice.
story behind it? And so I'm a little ways in. Beth's a lot further in, but it's just like this wonderful like getting back into why did they find this so anyway, just I'll throw that one out for you for
That's great.
yeah. Um so yeah, that sounds like a fascinating book though. I mean
Yeah.
that yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
It's just really well told. I there are certain books that you read and you just feel like uh, you're just in a trustworthy you can trust the person that you're being brought along with.
mhm.
It's gonna be a good journey. So,
Well, and it kind of with Martin Luther King Day, it's that thing of it puts us in the place can put us in the place of somebody else's experience that is so different from our own,
yeah. Yep.
which is how empathy develops.
That's
And
right. That's
um
right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
All
how
right.
about I'll stay on the theme of books.
Yeah, sounds good.
So a book that I just recently finished is called Rooted, a spiritual memoir of homecoming by Christy Berghoff.
Hmm.
I had never heard of her before. Um, but she popped onto my radar because Parker Palmer and Carrie Newcomer had her on as one of their guests on one of their most recent podcasts. And so um, I listened to the podcast. I'm like, oh my goodness. So this is her second book. Her first book is I haven't read the first one. It's called Clay Jar, Broken Jar, something like that. That basically is her story of kind of faith and worldview deconstruction. Um, and this is kind of how she's returned back to her home in, I want to say it was Western Michigan, and getting back to the kind of the farm land that her family grew up on and she grew up on, and that she and her husband left to go to Washington D.C. and then just the whole thing kind of is so it is a memoir,
Mm-hmm.
and it is beautifully told, absolutely beautifully told, and so connects with me because nature is so much a part for me of my own experience of God, my own just need for what feeds my soul just in general. Um, and it is just, and it's just beautifully described. And she also describes herself as a contemplative photographer.
Mm.
So I've been following her work on Substack, and just like she just put up a post yesterday or the day before. It said it was like my favorite kind, God's favorite kind of ice,
Mm.
and all of it were pictures of ice around the farm, and
Mm.
said, "This is the ice that God created,"
Mm.
and pronounced good.
Mm.
Didn't have to say anything else, but it was
Right.
just absolutely prophetic and beautiful. And for me, one of those ways which photography allows you to kind of speak into things in some very unique ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's one quote I just pulled up here where I love this distinction, because like in the church we have this thing sometimes we talk about, to be in the world but not of the world, and stuff. And she says this: I make a distinction between the earth and the world. Here's one way to think of that distinction. The earth is what God has made, and the world is what humans have made. The earth has much to teach us about living in the world, and I found that I cannot endure the world without being close to the earth. When I sit too long with the harsh realities of the world and become distant from the earth, discouragement overwhelms me. I have to be rooted to the earth to live in the world.
Wow. Mm.
Yeah.
Never thought about the distinction between the two. I love
Yeah.
that
Um,
language. Mm.
yeah. So it is one that is best done as a slow read. I just read a chapter roughly a day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, could probably read it faster than that, but it is just so rich,
Mm.
that you kind of feel like you need to just take it slow and just absorb it like a nice slow walk.
That's great.
Yeah.
And for those listening in, the show notes will have links to these things, and we definitely should link to her Substack so that people can check out her work as well. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Well, my third one, I'm looking at my list here. I'm really trying to decide between two TV series that I just finished, and I think I'm gonna go with Somebody Somewhere. It is a series on HBO Max, HBO, whatever they're calling that service now. It was 3 seasons and they're done. So I always like to recommend things that, like, you're not on the hook forever. Like, I'm not gonna recommend Grey's Anatomy. Um, 3 seasons. In fact, the 3rd season, I think, only has 7 episodes, and they are 30 minutes long. I have to give a content warning because there's just a lot of raunchy humor in it. But it is a slice of life sitcom starring Bridget Everett, who is a cabaret singer in New York. But the premise is that she goes back to her native Kansas, Manhattan, Kansas, where she's going to take care of her sister who's dying of cancer. I guess cancer is the theme for my picks this time. Um, can't remember if anybody in Pachinko has cancer yet, but anyway. Um, and if I remember correctly, like the sister has died before the series starts, but that is what has gotten Sam, is her name, back to Kansas. And she's just shattered by grief. She's not getting along with her sister. She's kind of a mess. She's just trying to find her footing in the world without her sister. And what hooked me in really early on is she gets invited to this gathering that is at a church, but it happens after hours, and it is a place where people sing together, they perform. It's very queer. It's like all of the misfits and outcasts in the town gravitate, and they may even call it church, this gathering. So this is why I think I texted you last week and was like, have you watched Somebody Somewhere? Because it's about how we find community. It's about the authenticity of being yourself and being truly accepted by a community and finding your people. And so over the 3 seasons, she doesn't get all better. She's still kind of a mess at the end, but she reconciles some relationships. She understands herself better, and she starts some of the big sort of barriers and sort of armor that she has put around herself starts to kind of fall away. And it's through the love and acceptance of really kind-hearted people. Um, Jeff Hiller, I think, is the name of the other kind of main character. He plays Joel, and he won, I think, the Emmy this most recent season, which fans of the show were just so thrilled that I think he's one of those guys that's kind of worked in TV and different things for a long time and has gotten recognition for this.
He's a that guy.
He is definitely a that guy. And so, and the other thing that I'll say, I mean, in addition to this kind of church piece where people, and Sam has a beautiful voice, and so she kind of sings and finds her voice in some literal ways. But also there are so many characters in the show that care about faith. Like church is kind of a central place in several, not all, but several of the characters, and finding the right church and volunteering at their church. And it's very it's just a very, very kind-hearted show, which I think we need as many of those as we can right now. And it's not about zombies. Not that I have anything wrong, not there's anything wrong with that, but it's just a slice of life show in the heartland of America, and the people there are good and kind and trying to do the right thing. And hilarity ensues. It's very funny in parts as well. Some truly laugh out loud moments. But I think it's a balm, I would say. Somebody Somewhere. So
I find it interesting, just thinking about what we've talked about so far, that really the vast majority of these are dealing with community and connection and realness.
Yeah.
Even sports at the beginning, like one thing we didn't mention, one of the things that actually is really kind of amazing about sports is that I can sit with somebody next to me at a game who is completely the polar opposite of me politically, religiously, whatever. And yet, if we're both rooting for the Avalanche to beat the Red Wings or whatever, like it's like that there is something there.
Yes.
Yeah. But your Pachinko that you mentioned, the comedy special Pissing Out Cancer, and these are all like there's something.
Yeah.
Interesting theme.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, we kept it very broad of like what's saving your life right now. And there's a lot of different ways things save our lives. Sometimes it's just gives us an excuse to laugh, or it is an escape from all of the things. But also just it gives us a connection to what's real and what matters. So, yeah.
Mark throwing in a thing about the wings in the chat. So,
oh gosh, I missed a bunch of. Okay, yes,
yeah. That's funny. Thanks, Mark. Mark, I'm
Love
going to
it.
be sending you a separate email about something about that, but that's another topic.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah. Well, can I pull something from your list
Yeah,
that just
sure.
sort of goes from that? You mentioned about Somebody Somewhere. Another show that we both watched that kind of has that same sense, or just like a good, kind-hearted, entertaining show is Man on the Inside. Um,
So good. So good.
yeah,
Yeah.
on Netflix, right?
Mhm.
Netflix? Yeah. Um, and 2 seasons so far. Ted Danson's sort of at the heart of it. Always fun to see him as sort of the post, after his legacy of Cheers,
Yes.
and Sam Malone, but then, his take with, um God, my brain is not working today. Um,
Is The Good
the
Place?
the Good Place, yeah.
Yeah.
And now, with Man on the Inside, he's just kind of got like this elder statesman type of
Yes.
sense to him. And for those who haven't watched it, he's plays a um, widower. His wife has died, and trying to find kind of purpose. And
Mhm.
he gets hooked into basically being the man on the inside for a private detective agency in the first season, investigating something going on at a nursing or a senior living center.
Yep.
And it's just great. And there's so much of, again, the community,
Mhm.
finding community in the midst of his loss, but also the community that others share. Um, it's just lovely and just
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
It's really, really fun. That's another laugh out loud show.
Mhm.
I was trying to decide between the 2 of them, Somebody and Somewhere and Man on the Inside, um, because I think Somebody Somewhere has a little bit more of kind of transcendent themes, but Man on the Inside, I mean, if you liked Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Good Place, I mean, those just really kind-hearted, empathy-soaked shows, you're really gonna like this one. And season 2 it takes place in a community college. So he's still the man on the inside, but this time he's teaching, at a community college where there's been a crime. And it has some interesting commentary. I don't know, have you watched season 2 or have
Yeah.
we talked about
Yeah.
this? Yeah.
Yeah. I've watched
So
season 2.
the kind of,
Spoiler
what's
alerts.
going on around, yeah, I mean, there's a billionaire who's like trying to take over the college, so there's some commentary, I think, social
Mhm.
commentary on things going on
Yes,
in the
there is.
world and sort of, uh, higher education and how it's trying to they don't really get too much into kind of wokeness and DEI stuff, but there's a little bit of kind of hint at how do colleges kind of manage themselves and, that
Mhm.
kind of thing, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So do I get to go again, even though I
Yeah, go ahead, and mine is almost done, so just
okay.
any honorable mentions that you wanna mention before
Okay.
we close up.
So I'll go with another one that MaryAnn put me on to, and I've kind of become addicted to, and that is the podcast, The Soundtrack Show.
Yay.
Um, uh, so I am fairly musically illiterate. Like I know for me, there's 3 notes. There's high, medium, and low. Um, and I know that those dots on those lines represent something, but I I cannot like look at music and go, oh, that's what that tune sounds like, or what the internet has been a gift for me, like choosing music for worship. Because I'll like go to YouTube and be like, okay, So, what? But I've always loved music just in general, but I've always loved movie soundtracks, and so this podcast goes super deep into like big movie soundtracks, and so the stories behind them, but also like the really inside baseball of um, the you know, motifs and leitmotifs and the different ways of which, these aspects of musical kind of tradition have keep playing themselves out, and the ways in which the story is being told in music in ways that we're not necessarily conscious of.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so, yeah, so he's done a series of ones on like the Star Wars movies, the first 2 Lord of the Rings films. They just finished 5 episodes on the 2 Towers. I'm predicting 6, at least 6 for Return of the King,
Can't wait.
whenever that time comes.
Yeah.
But, for me, it was like opening up an entirely new world,
Mhm.
um, because I've always loved these soundtracks, but to hear this and go, oh, so that's what's going on with that.
Mhm.
Or, yeah, and picking up things now. And so one of the things I'm really looking forward to about seeing Lord of the Rings on the big screen now is this will be my first time seeing the films since listening to the
Nice.
Fellowship of the Ring podcasts and then the Two Towers. So I'm curious what my experience is going to be, kind of having that very fresh in my mind right
Love
now.
it. Love it.
Yeah.
I did watch, Fellowship of the Ring not long ago, just here at home, and I had just re-listened to those episodes, and yeah, it's really fun. 'Cause you're like, "Oh, here's what he was talking about." David W. Collins is the name of the host on that, and he does all kinds of sound he does some, video game soundtracks for folks who are interested in that. He is at his best when he's talking about John Williams, and he has done most of the major John Williams, things. Um, so yeah, I highly recommend. It's a great, great podcast, and it'll keep you going for a long time because it's got years of episodes though there.
Mhm.
Um, my only quibble with it is that he has not done any Hans Zimmer, and it must be a thing where he's just not a fan. I don't know, but anyway. The only thing that's still on my list, and it's just a song in fact, this was what I think I was listening to when I texted you and said we need to talk about pop culture that's saving our lives, is I was listening to Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine last week, and I had it so loud, and it was just kind of current events led me to that song, and it's a great cathartic, like, man. I mean, he literally makes that sound when he's singing. So just gonna throw that one in there as an honorable
Mhm.
mention. I don't need to say much more about it, but it's a good one if you just need to get out some Rage Against the Machine. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
anything else you wanna
Yeah.
name check before we
I'll
close up?
just throw in my last two. One was my church is doing a Bible in a Year reading
Mm.
program, and it's been probably 2 years since I've done that. And it's been very fun for me this time because I'm actually doing like daily notes that I'm posting up on the church website. So it's also kind of like
Wow.
giving me like this separate little thing of not only for myself but also in the teaching.
Mhm,
And that's one of the things I absolutely like. If there's one thing I love to do about being a pastor, it is teach. And
mhm.
not just like sermons, but like classes and small groups. Huge heart for that. And so it's just super fun to do that. And so yeah, so that's been great, even though we're neck deep in the incredibly dysfunctional Jacob, Esau,
What are you
Isaac.
talking about? Family values in the Bible
Yeah,
are
that's right. Mhm.
really,
Yep.
really
Yeah,
wholesome.
absolutely. Yeah, and then the other is, and uh, if David Collins doesn't do eventually a podcast soundtrack about this game, I will be shocked.
Mm.
So one of my daughters got me hooked on this PlayStation game called Claire Obscure, and it just swept like all the video game awards. And it is visually the most stunning game I have ever seen. And it's like taking you in this, it is fantastical
Mm.
of what these worlds look like that you are going through. And the music is incredible. Like so that one is an absolute escape. Um, and
Oh,
yeah, it has been so it's kind of like the book. I'm not wanting to play it a lot. I want to just sort of like savor this game.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, so
Love
that's
it.
been
That's
uh,
great.
so Mark throws in groove in the face of adversity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don Was album. This is my so the album, we'll look it up. This is
Okay.
My Country, a remake of a Curtis Mayfield song. Excellent.
Okay.
We're gonna
Okay.
add that into our show notes. Um, that's great. Yep, I see you taking notes here. Well, we should recap for those because we've had a bunch of people join us, and we'll obviously have the full recording on our PCPH feed, as well as it'll be at the Blue Room as well. But these are the things that are pop culture that's saving our lives right now. So mine were the Max, HBO, whatever it's called, series, Somebody Somewhere. The Hank Green comedy special that was on Dropout TV and is now on YouTube called Pissing Out Cancer. We had a little special shout out for Man on the Inside, another wonderful, warm-hearted TV series that's had 2 seasons so far on Netflix. And then I am making my way through the novel Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. And I threw in a little Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine, which I've had on a little bit of high rotation in the last couple of weeks. So how about you? Recap yours.
So started with a shout out to my Broncos and my experience of sports, and both the really good about that, but also the why does it do this to me? But the Wrinkle in Time quintet books, I'm not even 3/5, but I'm into the third of the 5 books, and it's just been beautiful. Book called Rooted by Christy Berghoff. And then the soundtrack show, and then kind of the last couple things of kind of my daily readings, and the video game Claire Obscure. So
wonderful. Awesome.
It's been a eclectic hour.
Yes. Excellent. Well, it's good to be reminded that even in kind of mass produced and mass available shows, which many of these are, or movies or video games, there is great beauty and artistry that can sustain us. So however you all find those things, it's important in these days to immerse in those places of beauty. So we hope you will join us on Friday, the 23rd at 11:30 Eastern, where we will pick up Lord of the Rings Episode 1 of Pop Culture Pastors Hour, which will not be about Episode 1 of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, excuse me. But it will be about a thematic thing. We got some fun things planned, but we can't quite say what yet because we're hoping for a special Tolkien, a nerd extraordinaire in the Tolkien circles, and I hope that he will be able to join us. But if not, we will soldier on with a broken fellowship of just the two of us, and we'll make it work. So
we can do it.
Any final words before we go?
Just to say that special guest, in case anybody's super, thinking this route, it is not Stephen Colbert. We did reach out to his people, but
someday,
he's not, but
maybe when he's not so busy with the Late Show, we can
I think so. He would be great, but
he's just waiting for that invite from us, I'm sure.
Yes, but we're hoping for this other one who's amazing. So
So all right. Well, thank you all for joining us. It's good to talk with you, Ed. We'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.